some of you newer people, we've talked about mainly focusing creative. That's what we're doing. We've been thinking about incorporating cash more so recently. And Alex and I this week have been building out everything for cash stuff. We're just really trying to decide what sort of list we want to narrow it down to for cash. So, of course, we're still going to be doing all that direct to agent, low equity, subject to stuff. But then we're also going to be targeting expired listings. That's going to be our first list we're going to start doing, and that necessarily isn't 100% cash deals. Like a lot of expired listings, we're pitching subject to seller finance, creative, whatever you want to call it as well. But cash will be more incorporated within that too. So next week we should have some lists pulled for expired listings, I believe. And I guess we just have to go about how we want to distribute that, Alex, and see like, what is what, because right. I mean, that's something we have to discuss more as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think how it'll be structured is because these lists we have to skip trace and basically come out of our own pocket. Um, we'll probably start with a handful of people. I know we didn't really talk about this, Jack, but we'll probably start with a handful of people that we've seen been making calls because it is a little bit more of a difficult phone call. We'll
Yeah.
still provide all the same stuff in terms of scripts, pre-recorded calls, because we should be kind of leading with example. And then also, what else was I going to touch on? I think that's it for now.
Yeah. So with the expired listings, that's basically just a listing that just in the name expired. So it was on market and it didn't sell, and that contract with the realtor is up, and then that property is no longer on market. So if we're pulling that data and pulling those lists, of course, there was a lot of motivation there at one point. The house just didn't sell. And that gives us opportunity to reach out to those homeowners directly and see what the scenario may be. Real estate agents are kind of going to be their enemies now. Well, I shouldn't say enemies, but basically they were under contract with an agent to sell their house. Their house didn't sell. So they may actually be appealed by an investor like us coming in and pitching something to them. And there could be a handful of things we do. It's really just going to depend on that data in that house specifically, whether it's us pitching directly into sub two for pitching cash. But I think the way we would do it, Alex, would be like the anchor of cash and then pivoting to creative. I'm pretty sure that's how it would work. Because when we anchor with cash, someone's going to say, well, I need more than 250,000. My mortgage is 280. I'm going to be losing 30 grand. Oh, well, when you were listed with your agent, did anyone ever just come in and offer just taking over the existing payments on your mortgage? Like, you can just get into it that way super easily by anchoring that offer with cash. So that's something we're going to definitely start doing next week, and hopefully start seeing some results from that. Um, yeah, and that's just something I wanted to briefly touch on in terms of analyzing like the cash deals specifically. That's another thing, Alex. Like these expired listings won't necessarily be all well. I don't think many of them will be like typical cash deals, like fix and flip scenarios, where it's like, hey, we actually need to look at this and underwrite it differently. I think a lot of these will end up being, maybe not all of them, but a decent percentage will be like turnkey, decent shape houses that were on market, just like the stuff we're dealing with right now. Right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say for the most part, there are going to
Yeah.
be outliers, but yeah,
Yeah. But I mean, just as a rule of thumb for pitching the cash offer. So what Alex and I are going to do within like one of the Google Sheets, we'll somehow integrate it. But just to give like a rough idea of what to be pitching for cash, we're going to do 60%. And of course, these aren't accurate. They're just rough zestimates, ballpark ranges. Like the Zillow offer, the zestimate is Zillow's estimate of what they think the house is worth, which most of the time that's not super accurate at all. But if you get the Zillow estimate and we go to Redfin or realtor.com and we get that estimate and we multiply that by 0.6, which would be 60%. So basically, we want to find the average of those 60% of that. And then that's our cash offer. Just as a quick rule of thumb, like anchor, that's what we're going to be doing. Don't worry, we'll have all this stuff written out and we'll share it in the Discord soon, before next week when we start doing this. But because one thing too is like efficiency with time. Because I don't know when some of you guys are calling, I definitely, maybe skim this like a property or lead 30 seconds, a minute before you call, but you definitely don't want to be, okay, let me go on Zillow and look up the address. Okay, this is what this is worth. Let me go on Realtor and look it up. And then, and you're spending like 5 minutes looking at a property before you call, which that agent might not even answer, that seller might not even answer, or they might just say, we're not interested. And then you just wasted, 5, 10 minutes, however much of time it was, really looking at the property before if there's even something there or not. And I know we've mentioned that before too, like when we've been doing a lot of the direct to agent low equity stuff, like, hey guys, just call on these lists, look at a quick glance of these numbers because they're not 100% accurate. Like even though Alex and I are pulling like the best data possible and like skimming it through that other service we have, those numbers still aren't 100% accurate, but let's just treat it like that's the ballpark range and go from there. Because if we're really underwriting everything before we're calling, we're going to be wasting a lot of time. Because I'm sure, as you guys know, most of the time, agents and sellers, they're going to have some sort of objection or they're going to reject the idea and they're not open to it. And then you've just burnt a lot of time that could have been used finding other leads and opportunities. Do you agree with that, Alex?
Yeah. Um, it's gonna be just a little different in terms of speaking with the agent and the seller. Um, just like with agents, you're gonna have people that don't want to hear it at all, and then you're gonna have people that are open to selling, whether it's cash or terms. So it's just a matter of us providing a good script that everyone could kind of follow along. Not that we really use scripts to read word for word, but more so just to use as a reference in terms of how to guide these expired listing conversations.
Yeah, definitely. And each of them are going to have a slightly different script, right? Because I mean, right now we want to focus on expired listings, but there's a couple other options too, like for sale by owner, pre foreclosure, whatever other cash lists we could pull potentially. But I think like when we work on this script, we want to make it seem not like the agent is the enemy, but we definitely want to bring up how, hey, like the opening line will be talking about, I saw your property was listed, and then kind of pivoting into, I'm an investor who might be able to help you out and come up with something if you're still looking to sell your property versus kind of the start of our other pitches. And, since this is going to be direct to seller, but we already know there was very recent motivation there because it was listed. Yeah. Um, Was there anything I should screen share, Alex, regarding like the expired listing stuff, or anything you wanted to screen share before we started doing some like deal analysis stuff with people? Or
Maybe if you want to screen share and go over just the recent change we made to the script and explain how if you're getting immediate pushback,
oh yeah.
kind of fall back to and not really focus on the deal, but really focus on relationship building.
Yeah, gotcha. What folder was that script in, Alex? I'm about to pull it
That's
up right now.
Apple Documents and Discord.
Got you.
Yeah, guys, this is Rich, by the way. That would be super helpful because I ran into probably 8 or 9 realtors in a row that were just not they were just not nice. Like, they weren't even nice about it. Um, and I mean the one woman couldn't get me off the phone quick enough. The other guy was just an absolute jerk. Like, just, I was like talking to him about the house and he's like, all right, this is all ancillary. What do you really want? And I'm like, okay, buddy, like, chill out. Um, so I mean, some people are just not nice. I mean, but
Yeah.
then I've had like an equal number of conversations with people that like start with the pushback right away, and we end up talking about how things are down in South Carolina. So like whatever, but like I don't know if it's one of those things where like if these people are just going to be jerks from the beginning, like just move on, or is it worth it? Like, is it worth trying to you know dance around them and build a relationship, or you just kind of try that with the people that are actually treating you like a human being?
Yeah, and honestly, it really just depends how much of a jerk they are. Because I mean, some of these agents, depending on the city and depending on their listing, like for example, if like one of these deals we just closed on Friday, actually was one in Arizona, right outside of the Phoenix metro area, which is a really big populated market that everyone's targeting. Like this agent was getting her phone blown up, and I think you were mentioning this last week, Rich. Like in the description, it's saying like assumable VA loan with the low interest rate right on there. So of course that agent's going to be getting her phone blown up like mad every single day with people pitching sub 2. So anytime she gets a call from someone, she's probably irritated and assuming it's going to be about that property.
Right.
Not saying she's like a super evil person or anything like that. So I kind of get some agents' perspectives, but at the same time, it's like you don't know who you're speaking with. You don't know what opportunity you're missing out on, and you shouldn't just be rude to people because that's that's your job as an agent to take
Right.
calls on your listings. But Alex, can you give me a
Yeah.
co-host or
Well,
host, please?
for example, like to that regard, yesterday, one woman I called and she was super, super nice. And she's like, you're the fifth person I've had this morning call me about this and wanting to do subject to. She's like, I just don't understand why. And I sort of took that as an opportunity to be like, hey, well, listen, like the reason you're getting these calls is, and you're probably going to continue to get these calls is because like
Yeah,
the house doesn't, the house sold in 2021 for 350. You're listing it for 360. There's not a lot of equity in it. Interest rates are at like 8%. Your interest rate is like 3.5. So I just kind of went through it and explained it to the woman. She was super nice and she was very appreciative. She was like, oh, thank you so much. That makes so much sense to me now. Now I know. So like I can, at least tell these people ahead of time, blah, blah, blah. So there's people like that are nice. But then I'm telling you, the one guy was just like a total jerk. I'm like, all right,
yeah,
buddy, we're done.
yeah, yeah. So let me share this. So one kind of change I made, and I've kind of been talking about this for a while. And the reason we've had this on the back burner is just we really wanted to try to build out the subject to creative stuff and have that going pretty fluently first and have all those systems built out, and which we do now. So now it's like, okay, we're totally open to doing cash stuff. The only issue, like I've said with cash stuff before, is it's going to be a fire hose with just a big flood of water shooting out from it, and it's going to be super time consuming and not high yielding. Let me zoom in on this. My bad. Let's see here. So basically this is our typical script we had for like calling the low equity listings. But if you get that person who's instantly saying, if this is about subject to or creative, I don't want to talk, I don't want to touch it. Like, nope, the seller said no. Then just to build like a potential relationship there. So we're open now to speaking with agents about cash stuff and like fixer uppers, whether it's on market or off market opportunities where we can just pay them some sort of referral or finder's fee or something like that for any, cash fixers they may have. So if they're really giving pushback, and of course with scripting, you never really say this stuff word for word. It's just a rough idea. So if they're instantly saying no creative, seller's not interested, then just to kind of build the rapport there. And since you're on the phone with them, you can talk about, well, if they're not open to subject to that's totally fine. I understand. I'm sure just based off your knowledge here with the subject to scenario, if I'm coming in with the cash offer, I'll probably be lower than what they owe on their mortgage. So I don't think that'll work, but I do buy cash deals as well too. We do a lot of these. I'm not someone who's only going to be wanting subject to with no money to the seller or something like that. In terms of cash deals, do you have any fixer upper opportunities that are off market or any other current listings that could work for me? Of course, though, I'm an investor. I'm not going to be paying retail if I'm buying all cash. Do you think you have anything else that might fit that criteria? So that's something we can start doing. But then the issue comes to play there, like what is a deal and what's not a deal. So that's when we would incorporate more so of like once an agent sends you something, like if it's a fixer up or cash opportunity, that would be something where you look at that address and then you do that 60% rule of like Zillow and realtor.com or Redfin and kind of seeing if it looks like it's in that range. But say if it's a fixer upper that looks like it needs a full rehab, full cosmetic rehab, carpet, paint, maybe holes in the drywall, new kitchen, and the Zillow estimate's 180 and they're asking 140, that's just not going to work. Because basically you're probably needing to put like 30-40K into the house and then you're right at market value. So we need margin on those. And that's something that's kind of going to be, it's going to be a little tricky, Alex. I think when we create like a sheet for it, I'll have some screenshot pictures of like, okay, this is what a cosmetic rehab is like. And this is a rough estimate of how much this would cost. Subtract that just to give people an idea. Because if we don't do that, Alex, like I've done this before where agents will send you anything, right? Like they'll send you anything. So then one agent will start sending 10 properties a day in their network, in their brokerage, that aren't even deals. They're just like fixers that are super overpriced. And then, if each person is sending us those, then for us, it just becomes like a fire hose of water in our faces.
Yeah, but I don't really think we should be asking him to send off market properties from other people's listings. I know you
No,
can't.
yeah. No. I mean, they just do that. I mean, we can make a note of saying like anything you have specifically, but like
Yeah,
I've done that before when you speak with one agent, then they just start sending you a bunch of random stuff. So of course putting like verbiage in there, like maybe clarifying that so they don't do that. But yeah, I've had a lot of agents do that before, but
and it's as simple as saying, "Hey, I'm on the MLS already every day. I don't really need you to send me on market properties that I've already seen. So going forward, if you come across anything new that maybe just hit market or is about to hit market, I'd be happy to take a look at that."
yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, so that's
Guys,
just oh
in
god.
reference to the 60%, are you talking like trying to figure out like maximum allowable offer? Is that what you're
Pretty much,
but
yeah,
like okay,
because I mean, depending on the market, people are at anywhere from 60 to 80% of ARV minus repairs for like cash stuff.
right.
So
Okay.
yeah, so we're just doing kind of that rough 60% as a rule of thumb right now. Of course, I don't want to say let's just be safe and let's offer 40% and not factor in repairs because that's gonna wipe out a lot of stuff. Um, but it's excuse me, it's really just going to depend on that house too. Like if it looks like it's a major fixer, full rehab, then we're probably going to be a little lower than that 60%. Like Alex and I are still trying to figure out the exact verbiage we want on the scripting and how we want to pitch this stuff. Or not pitch this, but analyze this stuff in terms of seeing if it's worth pursuing and seeing if the numbers work there, which is going to be a little tricky, but yeah, that's essentially what we're trying to do is kind of come up with our max allowable offer, which our max allowable offer, just as a ballpark for everything, would be that 60% of Zillow and Redfin or whatever. But of course, that's not going to be the case all the time. Like that house could literally be about to collapse, right? And then that 60% wouldn't work. But that's just a rough ballpark for something that looks like it needs a cosmetic rehab or minor rehab. Um, and then we have people we work with for dispo that I know will be able to move these. It's just being able to find those solid deals directly from agents that we're going to be just building out and working upon right now. I mean, Alex, what do you think about that though? Like, because of course we want a rule of thumb, and it's not going to be black and white, but I think that 60% of um the average of the Zillow and Realtor or Redfin is going to be pretty solid area. I know that's what Chris is doing with his team. Um, like they're doing the 60% average of those,
Yeah.
but at the same time, once we look at pictures and look at the house, then that could completely vary. But at least that's minimizing the amount to go through that have potential at working.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think sometimes there might not be his estimate and there might not be a realtor estimate. So what I would say is if that's the case, you could just see whatever it was last listed for and just multiply that times 0.60. And these are going to be our like initial cash numbers, right? So it's not super set in stone and you're just kind of throwing out a rough ballpark number. And so I would probably just do that too if you can't find his estimate because like you said, his estimates are not always accurate. They're typically in a pretty good range, but they're not something that are like the golden rule. Although
Yeah,
a lot of sellers look at that number, and I mean, if the property is turnkey, that's kind of what they're gonna want to expect. And so it's just trying to find that middle ground. And a lot of the times, if that's the case, that cash offer isn't gonna make sense for us. So that's when we pivot into creative, which essentially we've been doing this whole time, or at least in some of those pre-recorded. That's kind of how I was structuring it. But I want there to be more of a focus on being serious about the cash number and not really much so on the low equity list that you're calling on, but more so on these expired lists because cash are going to be a much more valuable option because we're not focusing on only low equity anymore. And so if someone has 200K in equity and is really motivated to sell their home, they have that extra room to go down instead of with low equity. It's either they sell it subject to or they cut a check. There really isn't any
Yeah.
way someone could take a 60% of ARV or his estimate on a home that they owe still 90% of the loan to.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And that's the thing too, like with the cash deals, as long as there's, well, I don't know exactly what that number would be, but they don't have to be owned free and clear. As long as there's a decent amount of equity there, just they're not ending up underwater, then a cash deal works. And that's the thing with the expired listings too. It'll be interesting to see, Alex, because I've done a bit of expired listings. I've never done a ton of them though. I've mainly just done like DTA stuff, PPC stuff, and then some like high equity stuff for direct to seller. But with the expired listings, I'm going to be curious to see how many of these are actually going to be like sub two opportunities with like low equity, and how many are going to be just people who had their houses priced ridiculously high. Um, which part of my gut feeling is I think it'll be a lot of like cash and potential seller finance stuff, because I think it's going to be a lot of like older people who just want X amount of money for their property, and I'm just going to let it sit. Like that's what I've kind of heard a bit from of people that have done a lot of expireds before, but it'll be interesting to see like what that number looks like. But I think that best script for us to create would be the cash and then kind of funneling it into the creative. And then what was I going to say? I'm trying to think, is there anything else I should screen share here for the expired listings and cash stuff? I know we had that. I know we don't want to touch on the FISBO stuff yet, so that's something we could do later on in the future.
I would
Uh,
do the SOP in terms of what what is required before we're really sending out like that final contract,
you said the SOP for which one?
or when we're sending out the final contract.
Gotcha. Let me see. Let me go through my
Basically,
draft.
find 3 rental comps, find 3 sold comps. Oh,
Yeah,
I can't remember what exactly was on there.
yeah, and let me see here. Or do you want to screen share that, Alex? I'm not sure what folder that's in.
It's all good. If you want to just analyze the deal, that's fine.
Yeah. I'll just analyze one. Is Jonathan in the call? No. Okay. I was going to analyze his deal. Does anyone have a lead that they've submitted recently that they want analyzed, or possibly a deal or anything like that if you want analyzed? If not, I'll analyze honeysuckle. I know we talked about honeysuckle a couple times, but I don't think we actually analyzed it on the screen. That was one we had close yesterday in the Phoenix metro area. If no one has like a lead or anything that they want us to review, I can screen share that and go over kind of the numbers breakdown on that and why we locked it up and thought it was a deal. Let me just pull up numbers on it though. Or is there anything that possibly you have, Rich or Ron, anything that you guys have submitted that you want like a, you know, an analysis on in terms of why it wasn't a deal or anything really?
I submitted one yesterday, but I think it actually was a pretty good deal. Am I right on that, Alex?
Yeah, but I don't want to take a look at that just yet, Rich, just because it's
Yeah,
here. But I agree, it's a really strong deal, and I was really hoping the agent was going to get back to me, but they never did.
yeah. I
So
don't know what happened. I reached out this morning too, and I never heard back from her either. So I mean, I'll keep trying her. I mean, the seller sounds like she's in a pretty bad spot. So, hopefully we can make that one work out.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
So honeysuckle, this one was interesting. This was one where it was one of the agents that wasn't the funnest to deal with.
Oh God,
Alex and her became great friends.
you did not like me.
Let's see here. But this was one of those two. I know I've talked about this one. I don't think we did an analysis on it though. But this was one of those where it said in the listing, like assumable VA loan, low interest rate. And of course, it's in Phoenix or in that general area. So her phone was getting blown up like mad by potential investors pitching sub two stuff. But we were able to have a decent conversation with her and separate ourselves from kind of all the other people pitching sub two. And the terms were a little bit funky on it, which made it a little tricky. I'm just trying to pull up the original contract here so I can see what the exact numbers were for when I share this. Let me see here. So that one was 3.6, or what was the loan balance? 326. I'll just screen share right now. Screen 2. Share. I'm gonna zoom in a bit on this here. Okay, so 326. And this one was tricky with the terms because technically they shouldn't do this, but the agent was a relative, not a relative, but like the seller was a good family friend of the agent. So the agent was like almost like the advisor for the seller. Like the agent's like, well, I don't want this and this and this. It has to be done this exact way, this and this and this, which I get. She was kind of looking out, I guess, in best terms for her client, wanting to make sure that everything was good for him. Do you know what this, Alex, if you don't mind, can you look up the address and see what this was listed at? Unless she already took it down since it closed, which I feel like she may have, but I don't want to tab out and look something else up.
Gotcha.
Then we did
370.
through South Dakota. It's higher than I thought. 370. And then cash to seller was what was it? It was 20,000. I think our assignment was only 6 on that. And then closing costs. Well, I guess I could see the exact closing costs if I pulled up the closing statement, but let's just say 4,000. And then her commission was, I think, 10,000. So she was right at 3%. Yeah. So with this one here, did we sell it? I guess it was like 11% entry then, Alex. I forgot it was above 10%.
Yeah, but it had a 2.5 interest rate, so I think
Yeah.
right on that one.
No, yeah. No, I think it was I think it was like a base hit deal, honestly. And all these are going to vary. So like with this property too, looking at rental comps on it, and this is one important thing to consider too, like looking at rental comps, and I kind of made this mistake because I was kind of rushing through the analysis on this one, just trying to get it locked up. But looking at Renometer and some of these other apps we use, it was showing that the rental value that we could get for this would be about, I think it was like 1,900 a month. 1,930 is what a couple of these sites were saying. Of course, they're not 100% accurate, these sites. It's just ballparks. But then I looked at some previous rental comps and I'm like, yeah, probably like 1,850 to 1,900 makes sense. And then like right when we went in escrow, I was looking at some active listings because I was thinking of possibly keeping this one as a rental. Alex and I were. Then after looking at some active listings, we saw like this was a 2-bed, 2-bath. We saw comps that were 3-bed, 2-baths at $1,800 a month. So the market was kind of shifting. We were just getting out of that like summer phase, everyone going back to school, moving, things like that, slowly getting into that like fall. That November to January phase is when the market always kind of downturns and no one's really moving or renting or things like that. So we were starting to see that. So we're like, shoot, if this is 1 bedroom less and we have 2 comps in the same neighborhood on market for like 30 plus days listed for rent at 1,800, then this probably is going to rent for 1,600, which would be us losing $100 a month. So that was one thing that we're like, okay, maybe we'll just assign this one because this is still good enough of a deal, like really nice looking house in that Phoenix metro market, which is like one of the biggest markets in the nation right now. And it had, like Alex said, a 2.5% interest rate on the VA loan, but they were super set on another downside, they were super set on a balloon because he wanted to have his entitlement in the future to buy another house. So we have an 8-year balloon on that, meaning in 8 years, the person we assigned it to has to refi or sell the house to pay off that mortgage and get it out of the original seller's name. So we have that, and essentially, then what was the other portion, Alex? It was a well, actually I can see. I think it was a carry, right? Yeah, 15K carry. So then there was also a $15,000 seller finance portion for $100 a month for 3 years, and then a balloon on that portion in 3 years. So that means like it's a $13,000 balloon that has to be paid out to the seller in 3 years. So I mean, this is a killer. This is a really good deal. If the housing market continues to appreciate and everything goes well, it's a good deal. The only kind of concern with this deal though is saying in 8 years from now the market has like a 2008 scenario, which Alex, we don't think it will, but then that's a little risky there because it's like, okay, well, if this house doesn't appreciate in 8 years, I'm gonna have to come out of pocket cash to pay off the remaining loan balance, which will probably be like 300,000. And if you don't have enough equity to refi or sell, then you're gonna have to come out of pocket. So, anything you want to chime in and add on here, Alex? Because I thought you were about to say something.
Just one thing to add on this one is I don't know if you want to pull out a note calculator. Let me send a link to one, but I just want to show how this 2.5 interest rate
Or do you
is.
want to screen share it, Alex? I can just pass it to you really quick.
Sure.
Okay. All right. You should be able to screen share now.
Cool. Yeah, just want to show everyone, which I'm sure most people already have a general idea, but I just want to show the difference in interest and principal paid when the interest rate is. So I think what our interest rates are now, like mid sevens.
Yeah, almost 8.
So on the right side of the screen, if you want to look, this is when it starts, right? As you get further into the schedule, it starts to balance out. But if you want to look at this is only half, or not really half, but this is only the principal and interest on the
payment.
home.
Yeah.
The payment. And so just these numbers are pretty interesting to look at. I know I like to look at them. So the total interest paid on this is 561,000, whereas it was a 2.5, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
All right. So the
That's
payment dropped
crazy.
by $1,000 and you are saving 400K in interest paid. And so now look at this. You could buy this asset and it be breaking even as a long-term rental. And even if you're breaking even as a long-term rental and the property did not appreciate at all, each month you're basically putting almost 700 bucks into, I guess you consider it like a savings account, or
Yeah.
which is going to be your equity. And so as an investor, this deal is really attractive because, I mean, just comparing it to current day rates, you're saving 400,000 on interest. And just to go back to that example,
When you scroll down, Alex, if you don't mind, I'm curious because that shows the whole amortization and all the payment schedule. So
right?
scroll down to where it's going to be in 8 years. I'm curious, like it'll show the, well, I guess if you don't mind, can you change the balance to 326,800? Because that's exactly what's remaining.
326.
Yeah. Or 327 is fine.
Okay.
And
And then
then
when was this home bought? Let's see.
because I'm actually curious to see that myself.
So this home was bought in 2021. So we'll just go back. Oop, 2021 here.
Then 2.5% interest.
Okay. So if they bought it, or let's just use 2.5. Wow.
I wish the rental rate was higher on this, man. I mean, it's still a good investment, but like, come on, the payments,
But
like Alex and I were talking how low the payment was. I wish it just cash flowed more as a rental.
like this deal is insane, and here's the thing, Jack. Yes, it's breaking even as a long-term rental right now,
Yeah,
but in 3 years, rent rates are going to be different. And someone asked about Section 8. So let's just
totally.
go here. This I'll pull up for what Phoenix is. Arizona.
No,
Or,
I think it's a great investment too, Alex. But just for us personally, at like our time, it doesn't make sense putting like
yeah,
25K.
no, I totally agree with you. And so if you want to go here and look, this is what this isn't like 100% what you're going to get. I believe this is the max. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure this is the max the rent could be. And so on a Section 8, you're gonna get, I believe it's upwards to 70 to, in some cases, I think it's 100% the government is going to be making those monthly payments, which means as long as you keep the property, you're going to be collecting a fair amount, even if the tenant isn't paying, which if the tenant isn't paying, ideally you're going to be able to evict them. Yeah, so it depends on their income, like Bertha said. And so this was just to kind of show you another exit strategy. And so if the end buyer was to do Section 8, he's going to be cash flowing a couple $100. And this changes every year. So as you could see in 2023, it was 1740. And just 1 year, it jumped $130. Let's say it only jumps $100 a year, at year 8. Even if it's 2,500, you're going to be cash flowing. He would be cash flowing closer to what, 1,000, Chuck?
Yeah. And I mean, even normal rentals, man, too, even not looking at Section 8, like just like you said, this thing is going to turn into a cash flowing asset in the next 2 years, 3 years. Um, and then with that interest rate and principal pay down, it's really nice. I was just mentioning that kind of as one of the like it's a grand slam if we didn't have that 8 year balloon. It's a grand slam deal if you don't have the 8 year balloon. That was just kind of one of the downsides that made it more of like a, not a grand slam.
Yeah. And so just fast forwarding to year 8, as you can see, you're paying down that principal. So let's just say the home does not appreciate at all and you bought it at 370. Within 8 years, you're gonna make, if you were to sell the property at 370, which is not realistic, right? Most markets, I think in Maricopa County, it appreciates like around 4% a year. So I don't want to do the math breakdown for that, but let's just say the property appreciates 4% a year in 8 years. It's it's gonna
They're,
be a lot,
yeah,
370. So
yeah,
at that point, you'd be making a couple $100. You get to keep depreciation, which for someone who may be working a W-2, that it could be really, really not life-changing, but it could change how much you're paying in taxes by a lot. And so if they were to sell at what they bought it for, they're going to be netting 120K in 8 years.
yeah. I think that's crazy. And this deal, Alex, I actually didn't look at the principal pay down on that full amortization chart. So that's actually, I wish we would have bought it. No, I'm kidding. But no, yeah, that's a lot better than I thought. Because with that interest rate so low, you're paying down the principal rapidly. Whereas like you were just showing, if it was the 7.5, it would be how much more, like $300,000 more in interest payments they're making over the full amortization period, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and because the interest rate is so low, it's not really taking too much of the principal. But if you want to go to 7, look at the difference now. So now you're only, that principal pay down in year 8 is almost what, $40,000 higher. And
Yeah.
what this is like, look at it balancing out. It really doesn't make that much of a difference from, or I guess it doubles, but still, even then, this deal was honestly pretty good. It's just a
It
matter
is.
of are you okay with breaking even for that first and second year, maybe.
Yeah. It was a nice house too, because we were thinking of actually keeping that one. Like I went and walked it. I wouldn't have walked it if we didn't plan on keeping it. But then when we saw those rental comps, we're like, oh, we're gonna break even for the first couple years. I don't know if that's the best utilization of our personal capital at this time.
Yeah.
Um, but super cool house.
Yeah, maybe a year down the line this would have been great. But as of right now, as Jack and I are trying to build more capital to buy these types of assets, it wasn't in our best interest.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that breakdown of that the interest rate there and the amortization. That I think that was helpful for a lot of people. And me too, because I didn't actually look at that one specifically for that deal. I think Ryan got a really solid deal, which I thought he did anyway, but seeing that actually broken down makes it a lot more appealing. Um, yeah, and I think we cut, and then the other, I guess the other quote unquote downside of that one too, other than the 8-year balloon, was the that seller carry portion. So I think the seller wanted, what did he want? I think 30K cash up front, but then we got him to 20, and then we got the carry portion of that 15K for 3 years, and then a balloon out on that in 3 years, which means the buyer has to come with 13K to the seller in 3 years from now. Yeah, so that was like another thing too. But yeah, no, super solid deal there. Any other ones you can think of that we want to specifically go over, Alex, or anyone that submitted a lead that maybe wasn't one that maybe that was a lead that didn't work, or potentially, like I know you said with Riches you don't want to go over that one because that one was just submitted like yesterday and is a hot lead. But um yeah, I'm trying to think. Or we could go over which one was it? We could, I don't think we went over the Houston deal, right, Alex? Not the not the one that Jonathan brought us from our group, but the Houston one that Jaden brought me.
No, we didn't take a look at that one.
We didn't. Should we look at it? If anyone, if no one has a deal to bring or any questions, I guess let's open it up for like 2 minutes to see if anyone has any Q&A questions or has a lead or deal that they want us to look at, and then if not, I can go over that one. But
Hey, Jack and Alex. It's Dan. I rarely get into these meetings, but I'm a newbie totally, and I would love to help you guys in a way where if you could give me guidelines to go by, and then just either canvas for you or close deals by guidelines, I'd be more than willing to do that.
yeah, so have you explored like the helpful documents and the pre-recorded videos and things like that within the Discord and Google Drive, or
No, I got a copy of it and I've been so busy I haven't had a chance to look at it. But I
gotcha.
will.
Yeah, so that's what that would be like the big step then in terms of like if you go to the Discord, you can request a list to prospect and call on. That's what most people are doing here. So you can go to Discord, request a list, click that, submit a ticket, and then we will send you a list within usually like 12 to 24 hours of requesting that. And then that list, you can then start calling on it. Once you get a lead, you then can submit that to us. And then if it works, it's something we send out an offer on. Then you and I or Alex and you hop on a 3-way phone call with that agent or seller. And then we try to negotiate it, get it locked up under contract. Then once we do that, um, we end up either keeping it or wholesaling it. And then, you get paid a fee. So that's kind of the typical structure of it. So I definitely recommend going through those videos when you have time.
Yeah, the
Okay.
initial
How do I connect to the Discord? Sorry, Alex.
no,
How do I connect to the Discord?
I'll send the link right now in the chat.
All right.
I have a question, guys.
Yeah, what's up, Ron?
What's up, man? As far as the one with 3-year balloon, do you guys have it in the the contract where it's structured if the market isn't favorable, that it would continue the balloon?
So that 3-year balloon wasn't on the mortgage. It was on the seller. There was a seller finance portion of 15,000. So that 3-year balloon was on the remaining portion of that 15,000. So I think it was $100 a month payments for amortized, or not, $100 a month payments for 3 years on a 15K balance. And then the remaining portion of that 15K, I think, was like 13,000 that's due in 3 years. So that doesn't really matter on the market.
Oh, okay.
Because it's the carry. But the part that would matter essentially would be like in 8 years, if you have to refi out or pay off that mortgage, then it could be like, okay, do we have an appraisal contingency in 8 years? Where this one, we didn't have an appraisal contingency. We ideally don't want balloons, but sometimes we have to just do balloons to make the deal work. Like,
Right.
it's finding that sweet spot. And sometimes they kill deals like balloons, unfortunately. But I mean, this one, it was kind of a sweet spot where Alex and I were discussing it. Like, of course, we don't want a balloon, but at the same time, hey, this is still good enough of a deal where we should be able to move it and find a buyer on it, which we were able to. But then there's other deals where it's like, hey, this one has a balloon. It looks kind of iffy. I don't know if we're going to be able to move it. And we're just trying to avoid situations like that. So if we get a balloon, if the seller's super dead set on a balloon, we're trying to have some sort of contingency, whether it's an appraisal contingency, meaning if, say, the balloon's in 10 years from now, the house has to appraise for 10% more than what that balance is at the time, meaning that there's enough equity for them to refi out or to sell it.
Right.
So that's one thing. Or then also, too, one deal we just locked up a couple of days ago. The contingency on that one was, what was it? I think it was, there's a balloon on the seller carry portion in 10 years. And then there's also a balloon on the mortgage. And this was funny. I was really trying to push to get rid of that balloon on the mortgage because it's like a 500 something $1,000 house. It's kind of a higher end house. And basically the seller's like, well, we want our VA entitlement. So if you want to have the balloon, no balloon on the mortgage, then you have to keep paying us $125 a month indefinitely. So that's something we have in the contract saying we will pay seller $125 a month to have the balloon not occur in 10 years. So the balloon will occur when we stop paying $125 a month to the seller. And I told Alex, like, in 10 years from now, like $125 a month is going to be equivalent to like a McDonald's
Send
Happy
the
Meal or something.
Discord link, please, Alex.
Wait, what was that?
My fault. I forgot I was on speaker.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah. So, like, for example, that they're paying $125 a month to not have a balloon happen in 10 years is 100% worth it, in my opinion. But who knows? Sometimes these deals, the buyers, whether it's us or us assigning to someone, they might not even have the house in 10 years, right? Say if the market continues to appreciate rapidly and they just want to cash out, they might sell. Or say if rates drop significantly, someone might refi. So it's really just going to be situation dependent. But having the option of not having a balloon is what everyone prefers.
And just to justify the 8-year balloon on that particular deal in Arizona, is it was a VA loan. And so with VA loans, it's the one loan where it's like a veterans loan, right, Jack? And so basically they have a
Yeah.
certain of entitlement. And typically I would say with the VA loan, it truly depends on the purchase price, but realistically it's in between 2 and 3 homes that each person I found typically has. And so that's why in 8 years, most people, or not in 8 years, but that's the reason why with a VA loan, most people are going to want a balloon because they want to know that they're going to get their entitlement back and they don't want to have it locked up for the remaining of that existing loan.
Yeah. Very true. And I mean, there's still other alternatives too, depending on their motivation. Like someone might just say, hey, I'm in a really tough spot. If this is my only option, I'm going to take it. And if I can't get another VA loan in 5 years, whatever it is from now, then I'll just deal with it then. There's a lot of other alternatives. They might not be as appealing as the VA loan, like they would get if they had their entitlement, but still doesn't mean we can't do sub twos on VA loans. Yeah. And I know there was one, I think it was one you submitted, Ron, where she didn't want to
Hey,
move forward
hey,
with it because she had to.
hey,
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt, Jack.
no worries.
Alex, that video you shared with me yesterday was super informative. I don't know if you want to share it with others in the group on the VA and the sub 2 thing, but that was like, my mind was blown. So I mean, it was definitely helpful to me.
Cool. Yeah, I'll share it
All
right
right.
now. And then
All right, cool.
just one other thing, Rich, that guy, he's who I reach out to when people were having any trouble regarding DTI. He's the expert, and I just posted a link in the chat if anyone wants to. It's like the details and the behind the scenes of why a VA loan is crucial in terms of entitlement and doing step 2 on them. So if
Yeah,
anyone,
the VA loan stuff's about 11 minutes in, I think, like 10 and a half, 11 minutes in, but it was super informative.
yeah, I'm glad it was helpful.
Awesome. Anything else? I just went blank there for a second. One thing I forgot, Alex, this is off topic, but it's so weird how on Facebook Messenger there's a spam section and message requested, and I completely forgot. And I look at spam and I'm like, holy crap, there's so many messages that I need to go through.
Really? I don't see that on for me.
Yeah, it's strange.
Is it archive? No.
I'll show you after this.
Oh.
Yeah, you probably have a ton.
God. Oh my God.
Yeah. I guess any questions then, because we got like just under 10 minutes left. Any new people have any specific questions, or anyone have any questions at all, whether it's related to subject 2 or real estate or shoot anything. Can you think of anything, Alex? I was
Hi. I have a question too.
yeah, sure, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'll wait.
Oh, okay. Hi. So I just signed up. I'm partners with Sandra. Thank you for having me. I was wondering the contract that you were talking about, like what is usually you sold the contract, like you sold the property, right? You didn't keep it because of the balloon contract.
Yeah.
So percentage you usually get as a seller, as a wholesaler, because you sold
Oh,
it.
like an assignment fee? Like what assignment fee do we typically get?
Yeah.
So most of these investors who are buying these subject to creative finance deals, they're typically looking for a 10% entry fee or less. Of course, there's going to be exceptions. Say if something cash flowed a ton, then someone would be willing to come up a bit higher. But then there's deals too where Alex and I have done before where the house is losing 300 a month as a long-term rental. The interest rate's 6% and it's just not appealing. But if we can get it all in for 4% entry fee, then someone say, you know what, screw it. That's worth the entry fee for me. And I'll just hold it for 4 years and bleed until rent rates come up or whatever it may be. There's another strategy like a wrap where a lot of people will do a wrap as well, but the spread on that wrap wouldn't be as appealing. So the assignment fee is going to vary. The thing is and this is why we want to start doing some more cash stuff and expired listing things, because the assignment fees on these creative finance deals, the subject to ones, you're really not seeing anything over 10K. It's very rare for that to happen. Alex and I's are usually probably between 6 and 8K, average probably 7K. So with the cash deal, there's, I know people that are making 100K, not common, but 100K assignments with cash deals, 20, 30, 40, like that's not something that's super uncommon with cash deals. With creative finance deals, that's something that's uncommon for sure, having really large assignment fees. So as long as you can keep an entry fee below 10%, that's usually the rule of thumb, but it's never black and white. There's always exceptions where if something was cash flowing 800 a month as a long-term rental, someone would probably buy it at a 13% entry. And then the entry fee, what that means is it's going to be the entry fee is going to be a percentage of the total purchase price. So if the house was 200K purchase price, a 10% entry fee would be 20,000 on that. And the purchase price for an investor who we wholesale to, that's going to consist of the remaining mortgage balance, the cash to the seller or the agent, and our assignment fee. And estimated closing costs. That's going to be the total purchase price, or basically all the debt involved for that buyer to get that property, meaning the debt they're taking over subject to, and then quote unquote the debt they're paying out of pocket cash to get that deal from us. So that would equate to the overall entry fee.
And the balloon contract, do you have any videos on that? Because I just signed up in Discord, so I have to check your videos. Is there anything about those balloon contracts?
So it wouldn't necessarily be a balloon contract. A balloon is just a term agreed upon within the negotiations of the contract itself. So like we would have verbiage in like the special provisions portion. I can actually pull one up.
Just be careful with what you show, Jack.
What was that?
Be careful with what you show.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I don't really need to show it, but like in most state contracts, there'll be like a special provisions portion, which will basically, that's where you add verbiage. So a lot of these, we have our own subject to contracts we use, but some brokerages, they want the state specific contracts, so we can't use them. And in that instance, when we can't use our own contracts, in the state specific ones, in the special provisions portion where you just add your own verbiage, there's usually like 5 to 20 lines where you can add your own verbiage. In that area, we will put buyer is purchasing the property subject to the existing mortgage, approximate purchase price, which is the estimated balance, and then we'll break down the cash to seller, agent commission, and then add any other terms there. And oftentimes some of the other terms would be there will be a balloon in 8 years where seller or where buyer has to pay off the remaining loan or refi. And then, for example, like that other one in Arizona, there will be a seller carry portion of $15,000 where buyer is paying seller $100 a month, and in 3 years, the remaining portion of that balance will be paid off to seller. So you can pretty much put any verbiage you want as long as it's clear and specified in the special provisions terms. So like that's where you would mention any verbiage about a balloon. It's not a separate, like, I guess, contract or addendum you would have for that.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
And purchase contracts are essentially instructions for the escrow or title company or attorney to follow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then I think Sylvia had a question, right? I think 5 minutes ago.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I think I have like 3 now after listening
Okay.
to
No worries. Let's hear it.
Well, okay, so I'm actually a little bit confused right now. I think wouldn't more or less of all this balloon stuff and stuff you guys are all talking about, that's not really our position. Is that correct? That would go on you guys. Once we send in the lead, you guys take over. Is that correct?
100% correct. 100% correct. That's still something though, like, of course, we can walk you through and then you guys can understand and see how we're negotiating it and why we're pitching that. Like with that Arizona lead we went over, I didn't say, hey, we'll do an 8-year balloon for you, right? It was like, the agent's getting all these offers a day and she's like, we need these kind of terms. Can we be close to these? And that's where we ended up at. But of course, that's something we're happy to walk each of you through once you guys get to that point of a lead being submitted and actually like negotiating a contract and getting something under contract. But that's something you guys don't have to worry about though, negotiating out balloons and specific terms like that. It's more so just of, I guess, the learning and knowledge standpoint of why we're bringing it up.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. And also, I was talking to Alex yesterday, letting him know that I spoke with one of my agents here where I live. She's selling some homes for me that I have and helping me with some Airbnbs and stuff. But she was telling me, because I was running over the subject to with her, and she never has heard of it. You know, I know there's a lot of agents who've never heard of sub 2. They've heard of the seller financing, but they've never heard of the sub 2. And so I was sharing it with her, and her socks were just blown off her. She's like, oh my gosh. She goes, I want you to come to my office and share it with my office, because none of them, they have meetings twice a month or twice a week. No, twice a month. And she says, none of us have ever heard of sub 2. So she's asked me to come and sit with her agents at her office and go over that with them. But one of the things I wanted to share was she did mention that because a lot of agents, not a lot, some of them get upset, you know, like when we call it first, right? And she said one of the things that would be helpful, a benefit for us would be to let the agents know kind of up front that they're still going to get their commission, because that's what they're in it for.
Yeah.
Most are in it just for the Benjamin. And so she said that would be a huge difference and a big help. And then they would want to probably listen to us, probably not as frustrated as they can get at times when they're not, when they're misunderstanding or just ignorant of the definition of what sub 2 means. So I thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, and we make sure we say that too. Like when we're describing what the subject to process is, we're always clear on, hey, I want to make sure you get paid. I don't want this sitting on the market forever. We'll take over the existing payments, pay out your full commission, potentially put some money in the seller's pocket, depending on the scenario. So we're always hitting on that and making that clear, that we are paying commissions. Of course, though, like some agents just, if the seller isn't open to sub 2 or they don't want to do it, they'll just instantly, like those examples, like we were kind of talking about with Rich a little bit ago, like some agents will just say not interested in sub 2, where like the seller might have just said no, they're just irritated. There's no way of really getting around that. And even right when they say that, if I say I'll pay your full commission, they're still gonna like hang up the phone on us. But yeah, no, that's definitely a very good point. And I know we have that in the scripting, but for anyone that's not doing that, when they say like, hey, we can take over the existing payments, is that something that, might work here? We still want to be making sure we're hitting on taking over the payments, paying your full commission, and making that clear so that the agent wants to work with us. So I'm glad you brought that up too, just as a refresher and reminder to others. But yeah, we are making sure we say that.
Awesome. Okay. And then just one more thing real quick. And I'm sorry, I did come on. I jumped on a little bit late. I apologize.
No worries.
I popped into one of the gentlemen on here and I don't know who it was, who was talking about an interest rate, and that's why the home isn't selling. Can you just review that just real quickly, what he was talking about? Because I was a little bit lost with that. And that I think would be helpful information to know when we are talking to some of these agents, especially when they've been on Zillow for, I don't know, over 100 days or something. Do you remember which one it was?
Yeah, sorry. The specific question was why a home wasn't selling or what was it about the interest rate exactly?
Yeah.
Jack, that was me.
Okay. Yeah, Rich, if you want to chime in there, because I don't remember exactly off the top of my head what that scenario.
That was a situation where if I'm understanding her correctly, and I apologize if I'm not, but that was a situation where I had called the realtor and she had said, this was yesterday actually. She had said that she had gotten like 5 calls to pitch sub 2 already that morning, and she just didn't understand why specifically for that house. Yeah. And I said, and I went back and I explained to her, I was like, well, just looking at the listing, it's been on for X number of days. It looks like you only have about $10,000 to $15,000 worth of equity in it, and because based on what it's sold for and based on what you have it listed for now, and that the interest rate was, I forget what it was exactly, like let's say it was 3.25, and I'm like, current interest rates are up near 8. I'm like, so it's an appealing situation for subject to deal because of those specific factors.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Rich.
No problem.
Thanks for sharing that, Rich. Was there anything else then, Sylvia, or were those the questions there?
Yeah, so far I think that's all. Thank you so much for both of you for all that you do. Appreciate
Awesome.
you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions from anyone else then?
Hi, I have a question. I'm
Yeah.
Kathleen.
Hey,
I'm
Kathleen.
Kathleen. I have not done this yet. I'm brand new. And I just want to be sure that I understand correctly from the video. So I'm just requesting a list. And then after I receive the list and the script and the documents in Discord, then I just start making calls through that via that list.
Correct. I would definitely recommend going through that Google Doc that was shared with you, that master file that has all the pre-recorded videos, and just making sure you understand the script, the whole pitch, kind of dealing with objections and things like that. Also in Discord too, there's going to be a helpful document tab too that will have some other resources there. And of course you have us and other people in the group where you can ask questions in the group, or message Alex and I personally, and we can definitely answer those questions as quick as possible. But yeah, Alex and I always say fail forward. So like, even if there's times it's like, okay, what am I saying? What am I doing? Just picking up the phone and figuring it out is a great step, instead of analysis paralysis of, okay, I need to know this, I need to do that, I need to do that. And then you realize a lot of the time agents aren't all that scary. Except there's a couple, Alex, where there's a couple where me and Alex are like, oh, this will be a fun call. But yeah.
Great. So on Discord, I'm at the Blueprint Real Estate from the link that Alex gave us, and it says before requesting a list, make sure you watch the video. So that's probably why I can't make a comment yet on Discord.
I think you're good. Honestly, that is just that's the same video that's in that master link that I sent when you first got onboarded. So you
Okay.
probably already watched it, but for those who may have forgotten, I'd like to have it there so they understand what the process is like.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry,
of course.
I have one more question. This is Sylvia.
Yeah, let's hear it, Sylvia.
Okay, so I was talking to Alex about this yesterday, but I wanted to, since I have other people on here as well. I live in Arizona there's only like a population of like 40,000. So we have our neighborhoods like everybody else where you have the Richies and then you have the not so Richies.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of mobile homes, well, a few mobile homes here. They have manufactured homes, which are the ones that are a little bit built a lot better. Then you have your mobile home. How does anybody on here ever get like a deal for a mobile home or a manufactured home? And does that make any big of a difference as far as the condition of, I don't know, the whole deal, really?
Yeah, so I don't do much mobile home stuff or specialize in those. Most of the lists we're calling on aren't going to be mobile homes or manufactured homes. I will tell you, I know a little bit about it though. Like I actually almost bought one in where was it? I know it was in the Phoenix metro area. I'm trying to remember. Apache Junction, I think, a while ago because it was dirt cheap, sub 2. But the thing with mobile homes is a lot of people aren't really looking for mobile homes. So in terms of wholesaling them, it's a bit trickier. And unless it's like a mobile home park, then that has people interested. But like individual mobile homes, there's usually more maintenance with those. The quality of tenant I've heard isn't as good as like a typical home. You're going to be dealing with more repairs issues, things like that. The rents, you can get good cash flow out of them though, because oftentimes the mobile homes are super cheap. And then there's a decent spread between that cost and the rent. But it's just something that we don't personally really target or touch on. And, if something just randomly came across our lap, yeah, we'd look at it. But yeah, we're not really targeting mobile home stuff. And anything to add to that, Alex? You're muted. You're muted, Alex.
Thanks. Yeah, like you said, Jack, it's not something either of us really specialize in. And kind of going back to what you said, if it's a whole mobile park, sure, I might be more interested to look in it. But like you said, it just seems like to have only one mobile home, it seems like more work than we're typically used to. And I don't think the reward would necessarily be worth it as much.
Okay, that sounds about right. I do know that they're really well as far as renting out long-term renting. I have friends here that have a lot of them, and they make bucks just renting them out because you don't have to go there every month and do any work on them or anything usually. I think that was it. Okay, so I did have one more question. I lost it though. Anyway, thanks you guys so much. I can always reach out to you. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of good stories about mobile homes, and I've heard a lot of bad ones. I just don't personally have the experience in it. Same with Section 8 stuff. I don't have the experience really doing Section 8 stuff. I've heard a lot of great stories, and I've heard a lot of bad stories as well. That's just one of those things.
Do you do condos as well, or just houses?
Yeah, we do condos as well. The thing is with condos though, the most appealing thing is going to be definitely the single family homes, but we'll still do townhomes and condos. Just one of the downsides with the townhomes and condos is usually you're going to have HOAs that are pricey, usually over $300 a month. Likely that's on the low end. So typically we prefer the single family homes.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I have one last question.
Yeah, of course.
If I see a property in my neighborhood and it says for sale by owner, is that something that's that's interesting to call. What's your experience with for sale by owner properties?
Yeah, so for sale by owner properties, a lot of times with for sale by owner, of course you can get deals done there because you're speaking directly with the owner. There's no agent involved. But usually with for sale by owners, they are a bit tricky because that's the great thing with creative finance, though, because we can offer a different solution. But the reason that those are usually tricky is because that person wants all the money themselves, doesn't want to deal with an agent, and they're dead set on their price. So a lot of the times these people are asking above market value, but say if you call this person and say, well, hey, I could give you this amount down, pay you this amount over time, you could possibly structure a creative finance deal that would work for an investor that you could then wholesale to that investor. So like Alex and I have kind of been talking about it in terms of like some creative finance stuff, doing some for sale by owner stuff. But at the same time, we want to focus expired listings first, just because the for sale by owner, you're going to deal with a lot of just people who are super not fun to deal with and dead set and really firm on their price and wanting all cash. But just for experience though, like I would say totally give it a shot and call and just see what's up, especially if it's something local to you.
Got it. Will do. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
Hi. I'm sorry, I got here late. I think I have I know I have a call today. I want to say, Alex, with you. Would that call still be taking place? Because I know I got this text to get on this call.
Yeah, let's chat. Or it's actually set for next weekend. But if after this call ends, you want to have a chat, I'd be happy to.
Okay, I'm sorry. I must have scheduled it for the wrong day. I apologize. But I have a question. So I have a gentleman, and I met him by coincidence at my job, just talking. And I've been dealing with him for about the first time he came. He was telling me he was trying to sell a home. It was just a conversation. He was trying to sell a home, and so he had it under contract. And now he has. He came back to pick his glasses up, and he told me that he wanted to sell the home. But when I did some research on it, I believe it's going to require creative finance. I didn't want to just tell him no. I just told him I'd get with him as soon as possible, as soon as I've done a little research on it or whatever. But he said that it was going to, I believe it's going to cause some creative finance that need to be taking place with it, because I believe he's asking for too much for it. But it is a nice home. The location is a nice area. It's not really too many comps on the road with it. So that's why I was considering creative finance. So I was wondering if there's a way I can send that information over to y'all, because I missed the majority of this call, and I apologize for that. If I could send that over to y'all some way. I don't know if y'all discussed that or already, if you had some leads already there, because I'm assuming it's going to be expired listing as well. Because when I looked at Zillow, is actually he's actually got it under contract still with a realtor. And I think that's gonna be the problem.
I wouldn't say that. Well, the only problem when it comes into play when there's a realtor involved with something where you're working with the seller on, is that realtor, he's in a contract with that seller. So there's gonna have to be a commission paid out most likely. And then also too, a realtor might not be open to the creative finance stuff, and the seller is always going to use that realtor as their source of knowledge for the real estate transaction. So if we're pitching taking over the existing mortgage payments and the real estate agent isn't on board with that, now it's like almost a conflict of, wait, this investor's telling me this and the real estate agent's telling me that. So it's like the play with that, unfortunately, is like probably always having to get that real estate agent on board unless the seller's super close with you and sees that this is a solution that works for them.
Yeah, I would say though, Jack, is you could definitely, like, if you have a strong relationship with that client or seller, and they're kind of over it, and it's been on market for 90 days and there's no traction. I just spoke with someone yesterday who basically told me that they had a client that they previously worked with that was working with a new agent, and they didn't like how it was going, and that they were just going to cancel that contract. And so not all contracts you can probably cancel. There's probably some that have specific verbiage saying, if you sell it before this certain date, you're still expected to pay us. But if they're having troubles with that agent, I'd be happy to get on the phone with them and see if maybe we could provide them a solution.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I believe that he's very much frustrated with the agents. Because
Yeah.
when I talked to him last, like I said, it's been like a week now, and he told me, he said actually it's still in the contract. He said, but I really don't care about that because they ain't doing anything about it, and it's free and clear. Is he don't have any payments on it or anything. But I believe it's just he's asking. When I looked at it on, he's asking for 120,000 for it, and I believe that's what the problem is. It's not worth that. But I haven't really just went into detail yet with him on, more questions one-on-one. I did get his information and start looking at it on, like I said, on PropStream.
Cool. Yeah, no, if you want to send over the address, their DMs, I'd be happy to take a look at it and give you some feedback on what we think we could do with it.
Okay, yeah, I'll send it to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Both of you. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, of course. Is that it then for this morning?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think Ron had one question. He asked how many rooms are in a typical mobile park home.
That's a good question. I don't know, honestly. Just off the top of my head from seeing people who are like trying to sell them or wholesale them. It would be like not rooms, not lots, spaces, like how many spaces are available or lots.
Yeah.
I think usually like 20 to 50 is what I've seen from people who are like selling them or wholesaling them and stuff like that. I mean, I don't come across them all the time. I probably see them maybe once or twice a month. But I think that's kind of the rough ballpark range that I remember.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was asking how many bedrooms. I've never been to one. I've never been in one or
Gotcha.
seen one up close.
Yeah.
I'm from New York. We don't have mobile park homes in this area.
Gotcha.
Like, how many bedrooms are in it?
Yeah, so I think I mean it's gonna vary per each mobile home. A lot of them are smaller, like 1 bed, 1 bath, 2 bed, 1 bath. But then I've also seen manufactured mobile homes that are like somewhat larger, like 3-2, 4-2 even. I think I saw like a 4-2 in Louisiana a little bit ago that I was helping someone on. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super familiar with them honestly, but do you know, Alex, by chance? I mean, I think it's gonna vary. Like, yeah.
I would say it varies though. I know there's like
No mansions, that's for sure.
I know just like
Yeah, they're small.
Yeah.
just like with single family, there's the 1 beds, there's a 2 beds, there's 3 beds, and I think the largest I think it goes up to is 4, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
got
thank
one
you. It
more
was just a
question.
random
I'm sorry.
question. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, go ahead, Ashley.
What about do y'all acquire any commercial real estate? Because what I've been doing here lately, since I haven't wholesaled a deal or anything like that yet, but I've been acquiring a lot of self-storages for a gentleman. Some are like under pre-underwriting, underwriting. I'm just trying to see. I really would like to know how to do all that on my own. I know a little bit about the underwriting and how to underwrite some self-storage commercial real estate. But I would like to, that's why I want to know, are y'all dealing with any of that?
So at the moment, no. I mean, like Alex and I are always talking about like stuff we want to do in the future and expanding and a whole bunch of stuff. So that's definitely something we may take a look at in the future. Just right now, commercial wise, like we've said, and I'm sure all you guys are experiencing, like it's just like someone has a fire hose aimed at your face and a bunch of water shooting out. It's like, what do I want to be specific with and focus on? And I think like the best thing for everyone now is kind of just like picking that niche, which I think the easiest and best place to start is like the single family home stuff. And then also too, like the issue with the commercial is it's harder to typically find buyers for that. It's going to involve more capital, and it's going to be a lot more specific to that area and what you're working on. And that's just something we're not really focusing on at the moment. Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting. What do you think, Alex? Like, I mean, right now we're not looking at that.
I'd be happy to take a look at it.
And
Honestly, though, probably not anything over 10 units because I know once it gets to 10 and up, it's kind of a whole different ball game. And I feel like if it was less than 10, it would be something easier us to kind of take on and make it easier for us to analyze.
She was talking like a storage facility though.
Oh, that
not multifamily home, I think, right?
Well, I'm pretty much talking about honestly, I'm been helping with both, but right now that's where I've been focusing at is self-storage since the end of July.
Gotcha.
We got the guy that I'm helping. I mean, he's got way more experience than me. I'm just helping acquire him, so I can get my founders fees out of them. So I'm seeing how some of the process works, and then also like how some of the assignments are. I was just wondering, like to kind of just try to expand, like maybe because I think what it is now, they just need more help to underwrite some of them because there's so many leads going that they haven't coming in, which I'm asking them to try to help me with that. But right now they don't really have time to teach me that without me paying for it. That is the problem.
Gotcha.
So that's why I was asking, because I got the underwriting process down okay now. I'm just still working on it. But yeah, some of these units is like 150 units of self-storages, that I'm finding, or 300, that I'm finding for them. So
Yeah.
I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, no, that's definitely really interesting. I would say right now, that's something we don't really specialize in. I mean, the good thing with Alex and I is we do a ton of networking. We're in a lot of different groups. So we can bring someone in that maybe does it and then can help us with it. But as of right now, probably not something that, of course, like we said, we're still always happy to take a look and give an opinion on it, but that's not our specialty right now in terms of what we're doing. But still happy to help in any way we might be able to, or try to, connect someone else with us to help out with that if it was something that, you were looking for help on and getting a lot of lead flow on. And there's a lot of creative ways you can go about that stuff, which is super interesting too, like acquiring, well, I guess the self-storage thing when it's a business, but also real estate at the same time. But like, if you can creatively structure that, that could be really appealing to people. And I do see those. I probably see self-storage as just as much as I see mobile home parks. So I do see them occasionally in the different groups and whatnot of people moving those and selling them. So I know there's opportunity there. But yeah, I don't have too much to add on that.
Okay, well, I'll keep y'all posted on that as it times progresses, because I'm trying to, like I said, just expert underwriting them first myself, and I'm been practicing, like paying attention to like the caps and stuff, getting little hints from the people that I'm helping. If one don't pass through, they'll tell me a reason why. Like, the broker want them to sell at 6% cap and they selling at 8% cap. So it wouldn't be any room for us to wholesale it. But the assignments that I'm seeing, like another lady that I know that is helping them as well. Her assignment check was, and it's solving people's problems too, because they're tired of running the business. But the assignments, I know it's not just about the money, but the assignments are a big difference.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Well, definitely something to consider more for the future. I appreciate everyone's. Oh, go ahead, Ron.
Sorry, what state was that, Ashley? If you don't mind me asking.
The state on the commercial real estate deal, it was in Alabama.
Oh, Alabama. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more question, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, no worries. Alex, if you have to go, that's no worries, man. I got like another couple minutes. I answer this one and then we can end.
Okay. So do you and Alex own together real estate? Like, do you buy it together? Are you partnered like with an LLC, or does everyone, if you buy and rent out, has his own little thing?
Yeah, we're starting to, like, Alex and I have been partners the last couple months. We each kind of have our own deals going as well too. Where we have like wrap deals right now where we're marketing it out, trying to find buyers for those properties. But that's our plan. We're more so trying to do more of assignments right now, unless it's like a really good killer deal where it's a lower entry fee that we take down ourselves. Also, we work with capital partners too, where potentially we bring a deal, they fund it, we give up X amount of equity for them to fund it. So that's kind of a little bit of our story. But our primary focus right now is the creative finance subject to stuff. Of course, we're still doing everything cash, different options too, but primarily like right now we're probably 90% of our business model is direct to agent, low equity, pitching subject to.
Gotcha.
But we're slowly changing that and doing expired listings and cash and things like that too. Because I used to do a lot of cash stuff. That's primarily where I started. So I was doing like pretty much all cash wholesale deals in Texas about a year and a half ago when I started getting into wholesaling. And then the last 3-4 months has just been 100%. sub 2, but then now we're kind of touching with the cash stuff again to try to get some larger assignment fees out of that.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah.
Would there be a replay of this? Because I think I missed a lot. I know I missed a lot. Will there be a replay of this that I can go back and watch?
Yeah, we actually record these and upload them on YouTube.
And I think going forward, only the Saturday ones will be posted on YouTube. I think the ones that we do on Tuesday, we'll just try to keep to the people in the group.
Yeah.
This one will definitely be posted online.
And then
Okay, how do I go on the Discord?
I'll send you, I'm going to post a link again. And you could join through the side comments right now.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool, everyone. Well, I appreciate everyone's time here on Saturday. And any questions, definitely reach out to Alex or I at any time. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Any
Have
final
a good weekend, guys.
Cool. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Take care, everyone.